Hello there guys, and welcome to another day in paradise. Today's topic is one that I've been asked about a few times in comments and tweets and Instagrams and in person and stuff. I brought home from Saudi Arabia with me two beautiful Ducatis, one under its own power and one that I imported into the UK, and people are asking me, when are we going to get to see these bikes in your videos? So I thought I would give it a little bit of an explanation. So some of you have been asking about my other two motorbikes that you know that I own, both of my Ducatis, my Ducati Scrambler that I rode all the way from Saudi back to the UK. I promise I will eventually stop going on about that. And my Ducati 1199 Panigale Tricolore, which I purchased just before the turn of the year. And you're asking, when are they going to start turning up in some of these videos? When are you going to look down and see red or black instead of the SV or the Daytona? Well, at the moment I am partway through the rather pain in the arse process of importing those bikes into the UK. As for where the bikes physically are, they are currently at my top secret lockup with frickin' sharks and laser beams and snipers and guard dogs, and I've even managed to call in a couple of favours, and I have a full-time AWACS surveillance aircraft over the top of my lockup to make sure that no pikey bastards decide they want to try and nick my prides and joys. But as for the actual import process itself, well, the first port of call is actually to apply to HMRC to say I'm bringing a vehicle, or two vehicles in my case, into the UK. And at which point HMRC will look at you, look at your details, and they will decide whether you have to pay any tax or duty on them. VAT, good old fucking tax. Now, for my personal circumstances, because I've been a non-resident living outside the UK, and I have repatriated to the UK from outside of the EU, I have a personal allowance to bring in two used vehicles that I own into the UK. And as a result, I've applied to HMRC, I've told them how long I've owned the vehicles, and they have decided that I am not required to pay any tax or duty on them, which is a winner. Because otherwise I'd be paying tax on the retail price of the bikes in the UK, which would put the Scrambler at about $8.5 grand and the Panigale at well over 20. So that is a bonus. But once you have got your application for transfer of residence, your tax relief for bringing vehicles in, you have to notify a different part of HMRC, and you have to do a NOVA declaration, which is a notification of vehicle arrival. Now, I did one of those myself with the Scrambler, and the shipping company who brought the Panigale in for me did the other one eventually. So HMRC know that the bikes are in the UK, and they have rather kindly decided that I do not need to pay any tax on them. So what next? Well, under most circumstances you could just go straight to the DVLA and you could apply for a registration document. However, in order to do that, you have to prove that the vehicle or vehicles are legal to use in the UK. Nice. Well, all you need to do to get your registration document is simply send your certificate of conformity that proves that your bike is legal to use in the UK. It was made to a European Union specification, and yeah, DVLA will issue you a document. But there's a slight problem, and this is where I'm currently having a hiccup. Even though my two Ducatis were built in Europe for the European market, they do not have certificates of conformity because they went out of the EU to Saudi Arabia. and Saudi paperwork, legislation, yeah, not going to happen, I'm afraid. So I have to put both of my bikes through a motorcycle SVA test. Yes, the dreaded SVA test, as most kit car people have to endure, like an MOT on steroids. Basically making sure that it complies with all construction and use manufacturer legislation. You know, the indicators are so far apart, they're so far off the deck, the brake lights are this and that, the headlamps point left, all that sort of pish. So I need to put the both of bikes through one of those. Now, in order to do that, I can legally ride them to and from the test with no number plates, no registration, no tax, no MOT. But I do have to have insurance, which is another sticking point I'm currently coming across, because the bikes aren't yet UK registered. So UK insurers generally won't touch them. So we're in that chicken and egg situation whereby the bikes need to be UK registered in order to get the insurance, but I need the insurance to take the bikes for the SVA test that allows me to get the UK registration. So it's going on a little bit like that at the moment. But there are specialist companies that will provide you with VIN number, chassis number only insurance. Well, I've already had one of those quotes, and for both of my bikes to be insured, completely 100% legit, declared where they're being stored and all the security and everything. 2 bikes, 1 year, £3,100, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, is a complete con. Given that as soon as they're UK registered, I've got the pick of insurers, just I will have to declare, because one of the questions that all insurance companies ask are, has the vehicle been imported? Well, yes, it has. But other than that, it's all relatively straightforward, and being motorbikes, I have the opportunity to shove them in the back of a van. So that's where I'm currently at the moment. I have applied to the DVLA to get them in for SVA testing. Once I know what the dates of my SVA tests are, I will be hiring a van, taking the bikes down there. The only other thing I need to do, the only other sticking point, is that the bikes all need to be completely standard. That's not quite so much of a problem for the Scrambler, but for the Panigale, with no rear seat, no rear pegs, the full exhaust system, and quite a lot of aftermarket trinkets, I think the Panigale is going to prove a pain in the arse to get through an SVA, if I'm completely honest. But it's one of those things, I'm going to have to persevere. That hasn't stopped me using them in the meantime. Admittedly, I do still have the Saudi number plate, so I can just go and get some green card insurance and use the Scrambler on its Saudi number plate, and that is definitely an option. But the Panigale, as I said in my Back to the UK video, I have now used it. I have had it in at Motor Rapido, I've used it at Odium on track, and what an astonishing machine it was too. Absolutely astonishing machine, especially to be able to use it in the manner it was designed to be used. So I'm getting through the process. There's still quite a lot of work to be done, especially for the Panigale. I'm really not looking forward to ripping the whole exhaust system off and putting the standard exhaust system back on. I've got to source a pillion seat and a set of pillion pegs and all the mounting hardware, and hope that all the rest of the bike will go through. But you can do retest, but it's van hire and all that sort of pish. Of course, the biggest problem I've got at the moment with the Panigale is I don't actually have anywhere to work on it. The storage that I currently have is pretty much just storage. There's not really room to work, not room to strip a whole bike down anyway. But I would be very, very surprised if either of those bikes were going to see the light of day this year. I think realistically it's going to be a get them tested, get them sorted. Perhaps that might be over the winter when it's all a bit quieter, because let's be honest, they can go in the back of a van. Or it might have to wait until I've got myself a house with a garage, a working area, and we can go from there. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I need to do. Simply put the bikes back to standard, put them through an SVA test, and then apply for their registrations. At which point I can get insurance, I can get tax. The Panigale will have to go for an MOT, and then I can start using them. And I can give the SV650 and I can give the Daytona a little rest. Well, I hope that explains the process a little bit. It's not quite as straightforward as just bring them into the UK, get a set of UK number plates and crack on. If only it bloody was. But we shall persevere. Personally, I think if I can get the insurance, that will be ace. Because to be able to rock up for an SVA test on a Panigale and a Scrambler with no number plates, I think that's just asking for being pulled over by the police, and I will definitely film that if that happens, if that's how it comes about. But at the end of the day, £3,000 for me to be able to do that, as opposed to just 60 odd quid to put it in the back of a van, it's kind of a bit silly really, isn't it? But there we go, we will see how this all pans out. But in the meantime, guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to check out all of my social medias. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to be kept up to date with how all of this import malarkey is going on. And in the meantime, it's only a Suzuki, but I do still have some V-twin Thunder. Thanks very much for watching. Ciao for now, guys. Do you know what? If this was anywhere other than Portsmouth, I'd actually say this looks quite nice. Such a shame. Such a shame.